Hello, welcome to our Mongo DB tutorial series on Turbo 360. In the previous video, we installed the proper tools necessary to run the project. So in this video, we're going to get started. So make sure you have everything installed properly from the previous video. And let's go ahead and get started with our project. So first things first, you got to make sure you have an account on turbo360.co. So head over here so that we can go ahead and set up our account so that we can deploy to our staging server. This is free, so don't worry about that. So once you have that, open up your terminal and cd change directory to your desktop like so, or wherever you prefer to do your work. I'm going to do it in the desktop. And let's create a new Turbo project. So let's call it Mongo Proj. And this creates a Node Express project, a very basic Node Express project. So I'm going to open this up in the text editor. I'm using Sublime. And here you will see the app.js where the project is set up. And we have our standard, our routes, our views, and our public directory. The views are for your templates. We're using the Mustache templating engine. Routes, we have two routes. We have an API route and an index route. These are just scaffolded by the scaffold right out of the box. We can change these as needed, obviously. And public is for your static assets, JavaScript images and CSS. So that is all set to go. Now if you look at the, well, let's head over to our terminal and cd into the Mongo Proj. Now given that this is a Node Express project, we have to install our dependencies as defined in the package.json. These are not yet installed. So make sure you head over to your root directory and do npm install in order to install those packages. And that usually takes about a minute or so. So while that's going, let's head over to our app.js where our project is basically set up. And let's step through this to figure out our configuration. So if you look at line 4, you will see that this is where the app is initialized. And this is an Express app. It's called Vertex here because that's the Vertex is an Express application basically configured, modified for the Turbo environment. So it's just an Express app with a few minor modifications. So here is the instantiation, but if you look down here on line 24, you'll see another instantiation, which takes a config object, which is defined on line 11. And inside this config object is where we set up some configuration options, view, static directory, and most importantly, DB on line 14. So what we want to do is we want to use this instantiation instead. So let's get rid of line 4, just remove it, and then uncomment this right here, and like so. Actually, we can just get rid of this whole thing. So now we're going to use the config object to configure our project. And the most important line right now is this one right here, line 8, where we define our database URL. So we're going to comment that out and replace it with our own database URL, which for now will be an empty string. So what this is going to be is a reference to our local Mongo server. So what we want to do is Mongo DB : //localhost /Mongo Proj. And this last term right here will be the name of our database. So this is the pattern for the default pattern for local Mongo URLs. So, and again, the last one here is the name of our database, which we can name it whatever we want. So here is how we configure our project to run with a local Mongo server. So what we want to do now is test that. So we can do turbo dev server and we will see this message here, DB connection failed, which is this message right here, the on error callback. Well, that's because we're not running a local database. So we want to stop the web server and then do Command T to open another tab, and then we want to do Mongo D like that, and this will run the local Mongo server. And all these lines will pop up, but most importantly is this last line right here, waiting for connections on port 27017. This is the default port number for local Mongo instances. So now we're running a Mongo server locally on our machine. We can head back to our web server and run the dev server again. But before we do, I'm going to include an onSuccess callback so that we can get a confirmation message DB connected in order to confirm that the database was successfully connected to our web project. So let's go ahead and check that out. So we can do turbo dev server again. And there we go. The database is successfully connected and our project is running locally on localhost 3000. So we can head over to localhost 3000 in our browser and we can see our project running locally. This is how your project should look while running the database. So this is now a database connected to your local Mongo instance. So everything is ready to go. So that's great. In the next video, we're going to set up our schemas for this project to use, and those are called models. So we're going to create a model, two separate models, one for profile and one for team. And this project will simulate like a sports league, and we will start interfacing with that data. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you got all this working, and I'll see you in the next video.